Witness, Robert McDaniel, described the attack to the Daily Mail in stark terms. He beat him up because his ticket was in another section. He broke his nose. The videos showed everything. The teen charging at Schlanger, slamming the elderly man down onto the floor, landing over 10 solid punches while bystanders.
When NBA YoungBoy's Make America Slime Again tour hit New Orleans, nobody had a clue the night would explode into straight madness. What went down after that sold-out show didn't just shock fans. It had the whole hip-hop world questioning how things got so out of control. This wasn't just another concert gone wild, it turned into a real-life movie scene that had everyone talking. On October 19th, 2025, NBA YoungBoy, real name Kentrell Deshaun Galden, packed out the Smoothie King Center for one of the loudest, most hyped shows of his entire career. The energy was off the charts. Fans were screaming every lyric, phones flashing, the bass shaking the whole building like it was an earthquake. This was part of his promo run for his 8th studio album, Make America Slime Again, or MASA for short, and man, that name couldn't have been more fitting because what came next got real slimy. Everything inside the show went surprisingly smooth. No fights, no slip-ups, just pure chaos in the best way possible. But the drama? Oh, that waited till after the lights went out. Because once YoungBoy left that stage, the whole vibe switched up quick. Word started spreading online that he was spotted downtown, walking down Canal Street and even hitting up Bourbon Street with no security, no entourage, no guards, no crew, nothing. Just him, a hoodie, and the night. Imagine that. One of the most controversial rappers alive, known for beefs, bans, and constant threats, just casually strolling through the heart of New Orleans nightlife. One of the rowdiest, most unpredictable spots in America, completely unprotected. Like, what was he thinking? That move right there? It was a recipe for disaster. And sure enough, everything went left. Fans lost their minds when they realized who was walking among them. Within minutes, the streets turned into pure chaos. It wasn't a small crowd, it was a whole wave of people. Hundreds of fans swarmed him, shouting his name, shoving phones in his face, and surrounding him like a tidal wave. It was wild, no punches thrown, no weapons pulled, but the danger was real, the kind of crowd crush that could have gone deadly in seconds. Reports say this all popped off around 2 to 3 a.m. after the concert ended. People were pushing, tripping, screaming, completely losing control trying to get near him. You could barely move. Fans blocking the street, some trying to grab his arm, others jumping up just to get noticed. It was pure frenzy. Now picture being NBA YoungBoy right there in the center of that storm, surrounded by hundreds of fans, no way out, flashing cameras in every direction. You could literally see it on his face, hesitation, frustration, maybe even a little fear creeping in. The man looked trapped in his own fame. That's when the New Orleans Police Department finally jumped in, and thank goodness they did, because at that point, things were seconds away from turning ugly. Officers had to rush the area, trying to control the massive crowd, while keeping fans from trampling each other or the rapper himself. The whole situation was wild beyond words. What started as a victory lap for his tour turned into a chaotic reminder that fame can flip on you in an instant. Why in the world was NBA YoungBoy roaming the streets solo with no security? That's the question everyone's been asking since that wild New Orleans night. His personal security team was completely MIA, gone ghost, leaving him fully exposed and depending only on venue staff and local cops to keep things under control. To make it worse, not a single word has come out from YoungBoy or his crew since. The silence is loud, and it's only making people more suspicious about what really went down that night. No lie, the footage from that night, it blew up instantly. Clips spread all over X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and every hip-hop blog out there. You couldn't scroll 2 seconds without seeing NBA YoungBoy surrounded by chaos. One viral video posted by Hot New Hip Hop showed him right on Bourbon Street, swallowed by a sea of fans before cops literally had to lift him off the ground and carry him away. That image alone had people losing their minds online. Then came the longer clip from No Jumper. It started calm. YoungBoy and his crew casually walking through the street, but about 10 seconds in, it flipped from chill to total mayhem. Cops jumping in, fans screaming, the crowd pressing in tighter every second. And if that wasn't enough, Live Bites dropped a full 2-minute sequence that showed everything: the walk, the growing mob, the police swarm, and the frantic rush to pull him out before things got ugly. You could feel the tension through the screen. It was that intense. Within hours, these videos hit tens of thousands of views. Comment sections went wild. Some fans worried sick for his safety, others clowning his team for letting him walk around without protection, and a few even giving props to NOPD for stepping up before it all turned tragic. Everyone had an opinion, but one thing was clear: this whole situation exposed just how dangerous things have gotten for him lately. And trust, it doesn't stop there. That New Orleans madness, that was just the surface. There's a whole pattern of chaos following this Make America Slime Again tour, and it's honestly scary. Let's break down the bigger picture, because this whole run has been looking like a security nightmare. See, this tour has been hit with constant threats, canceled shows, and real-life clashes with rivals. The New Orleans concert alone had over 400 police officers deployed. 400, bro, that's military-level protection. Most artists don't even get a fraction of that. You could tell the city wasn't taking any chances. It just shows how serious the risks have become anytime YoungBoy hits the stage. His fans, they ride for him hard. Like, his following is more like a movement than a fan base. They show up loud, emotional, and fully locked in. But with that kind of passion comes pure unpredictability. Every single city on this tour has had its share of madness. And at this point, it's not even surprising, it's expected. Take Atlanta, for example. October 19th, 2025, the State Farm Arena show got canceled last minute after his team reportedly clashed with police over security protocols. And not some petty argument either, a full-on physical altercation. Fans who'd traveled hours were left outside, furious and confused, while rumors spread online about what really went down behind the scenes. Then rewind to September 7th in Houston. Fans straight ambushed his car outside the Toyota Center after the show, jumping in front of the vehicle, slapping the windows, yelling his name. It was a full-on frenzy. That kind of energy might look like love, but it's the kind of chaos that could go left in seconds. Just a few weeks later, on October 2nd in Washington, D.C., another mob surrounded his car after he waved to fans. He literally just wanted to show love, but one simple gesture turned into a dangerous crowd crush. It's like every time he tries to connect, the streets turned it into a near disaster. And then there's the Los Angeles incident on September 11th. His concert had to be evacuated mid-show because of gunfire reports. Imagine being there. 1 second you're vibing, the next you're sprinting for your life, not knowing if shots are real or where they're coming from. Thankfully, no one got hit, but that panic, that trauma, it stuck with people for real. Still, none of those wild moments even come close to what went down in Kansas City, because that night wasn't just chaos, it was dark. The kind of scene that makes you stop and question how far things have spiraled. What unfolded at the T-Mobile Center on September 21st, 2025 wasn't hype, it was horror. If you thought New Orleans was bad, Kansas City was something else entirely. Fans called it one of the most violent concert incidents they'd ever seen. People weren't just wilding out, they were fighting, bleeding, and running for their lives. Whatever happened that night, it wasn't about fame anymore, it was about survival. And that's exactly where this story's headed next, because the Kansas City assault wasn't just a headline, it was a wake-up call for the whole industry. He was just doing his job. Same routine he'd done 1,000 times before without a single problem. Thomas Schlanger, a 66-year-old concert worker, was calmly helping fans find their seats during NBA YoungBoy's Kansas City stop. Everything seemed normal until a few concert goers waved him over, pointing out that a young fan was sitting in the wrong section. No big deal, right? Happens at every show. So Schlanger did what any professional would do, walked up politely, and asked the teen to move to his assigned seat. But what happened next? That was anything but normal. The situation flipped from chill to violent in seconds, like 0 to 100 instantly. The teen suddenly snapped. He shoved Thomas hard to the ground and started swinging like he was in a street fight. Punch after punch, no hesitation, no mercy. Witnesses said the beating lasted around 20 to 30 seconds, with the teen landing more than 10 clean blows straight to the man's face and body. We're not talking about a scuffle or a quick shove. This was a vicious attack. The man's nose got broken, his face swollen and bruised beyond recognition. And get this, it didn't stop there. When a nearby security guard jumped in to break it up, that same 14-year-old turned on him too. Can you imagine that level of rage? A kid that young attacking an elderly man and a guard trying to help? That's beyond reckless. It's downright disturbing. The whole thing was caught on camera from multiple angles. Fans pulled out their phones and recorded every second. Within hours, those clips were everywhere. X, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. The footage was hard to stomach. Thomas Schlanger, an older man just trying to do his job, lying helpless on the concrete while that teen rained down punches like he was possessed. You could hear people screaming, yelling for him to stop, but most just stood there filming instead of helping, and that's what made the story even sadder. In a packed arena filled with hundreds of people, only one man had the courage to actually step in: Antonio Clayton. Remember that name, because Antonio's actions turned him into a local hero overnight. He didn't just talk about doing the right thing, he actually did it. When everyone else froze or held up their phones, Antonio jumped in to pull the attacker off Thomas. He risked his own safety without thinking twice. Later, in an interview with Fox 4 News, Antonio explained what pushed him to act. He said seeing an elderly man being beaten like that hit him in the gut. He just couldn't stand by and watch. "I couldn't let him die on that floor," he said, his voice shaking. His reasoning was simple but powerful. Someone had to step up. That's real bravery right there. He didn't know if that teen had a weapon or if more people would jump in, but he still put himself in harm's way to save a stranger. That's what you call heart. Because of Antonio's quick action, security and police were finally able to gain control and get Thomas to safety. He was rushed straight to the hospital, thankfully with no life-threatening injuries, but the damage was serious. Doctors confirmed a broken nose, deep bruises, and trauma from the assault. Physically, he'll heal, but mentally, that kind of moment doesn't just fade away. When reporters later caught up with Thomas, he looked shaken and said he barely remembered the attack at all. The shock had hit him so hard that his brain just blocked it out. Imagine that, getting beaten so brutally that your mind erases the memory to protect you. That's not just pain, that's trauma. The teen attacker, just 14 years old, was detained on the spot by Kansas City police officers. His name hasn't been released due to his age, but sources say he was quickly turned over to a guardian while the investigation continued. It's wild to think a kid that young could cause so much damage in just half a minute. Thankfully, no weapons were found, and somehow the chaos didn't end up stopping the rest of the concert. But let's be real, after a moment like that, nobody in that crowd could have enjoyed the show the same way again. The vibe was shattered, people were shaken, angry, and scared. It wasn't just another concert mishap, it became a symbol of how bad things have gotten at live shows lately. One wrong move, one burst of rage, and it all turns tragic in seconds. The truth is, the numbers don't back up the idea that hip-hop concerts are more violent than any other genre. The data just doesn't lie. What is real though, is how rap shows get treated compared to everyone else's. Venues and cops be on high alert the moment a rapper's name is on the flyer, while pop and country acts slide by easy. For real, look at how places like the United Center in Chicago enforce full bag bans, pat downs, and heavy police presence when it's a rap show, but let pop crowds waltz in without the same heat. It's hard not to call that what it is: bias. Now, yeah, there are factors that can make rap shows a little more unpredictable. Let's keep it real for a second. First off, most rap concerts bring in younger, hyped up crowds, usually between 15 and 25, and that age group is known to act on impulse. They get caught in the moment, especially when the energy's wild, and a small push or look can turn into a full-blown fight. These are kids who grew up surviving chaos, not diffusing it, so when things pop off, it happens fast. Second, we can't ignore the street side of the culture. Artist rivalries and neighborhood beefs sometimes bleed into the music scene. When those energies mix with massive crowds, it can get real dangerous. Take NBA YoungBoy for example. He's got long-standing tension with ops and rivals that's made him a target. Some of those threats are serious enough that entire cities, like Chicago, straight up canceled his shows to avoid possible shootouts. That's not just hype, that's survival. Third, the vibe itself at a rap show is different. Rappers like Travis Scott built a rager culture, wild, high energy, no holds barred. And YoungBoy? His slat following is the same, intense, loyal, and ready to go all in for him. Once that energy gets too lit, it's almost impossible to contain. It's passion, it's chaos, and it's pure adrenaline, all rolled into one explosive mix. Fourth, and this part's crucial, too many venues don't plan properly for what these crowds bring. They understaff, they skip training, and they underestimate how serious things can get. That combo is deadly. When you've got thousands of fans and not enough control, it only takes one spark for disaster to hit. Just look at Astroworld. That tragedy changed everything. 11 people lost their lives because organizers didn't prepare for the type of crowd Travis Scott draws. It wasn't about the genre, it was about neglect. The energy was predictable, but the safety setup, nowhere near ready. And that's the harsh reality. Most rap events get labeled violent when the real issue is bad planning. But let's talk about the media, because they play a huge role in this mess. Violence at rap concerts gets blown up way more than at other genres. If something pops off at an EDM festival or a rock show, it barely makes headlines, but the second it's a rapper, boom. Front page news, full-on debate, and think pieces about hip-hop's problem with violence. Like, come on, just look at what happened in 2024. An EDM festival brawl at Lollapalooza left 10 people injured, yet it got almost no coverage. Meanwhile, the NBA YoungBoy Kansas City assault dominated the media cycle for weeks. That double standard feeds a false narrative, trapping rap culture in this loop of negativity where every incident gets tied to dangerous hip-hop instead of bad management or poor security. Since Astroworld, the industry's been trying to tighten up. The Texas Astroworld Safety Act changed the game. It forced venues to add real-time crowd monitoring and better control over capacity limits. That's a huge step toward preventing another disaster. But it also means hip-hop shows now come with heavy law enforcement presence, sometimes too heavy. Take NBA YoungBoy's New Orleans stop, over 400 officers stationed around one arena. That's wild. It looked more like a military operation than a concert. Sure, it keeps people safe, but it also makes fans feel watched, judged, and targeted. That tension alone can create problems. And then you've got the strict bag bans and extra pat-downs at rap-heavy events. They're supposed to be for safety, but when they only apply to hip-hop, it starts feeling discriminatory. Like, why are pop fans trusted, but rap fans treated like suspects? It's a tough balance, keeping people safe without criminalizing a culture. But one thing's clear, hip-hop ain't the danger. It's the perception that keeps causing the chaos. So if you've been following this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because what's coming next might just change how you see the whole scene.